Okay, so problem says in the xy plane, the line x plus y equal k, keyword is line. Where k is a constant, that means I'm going to do all I can to ignore k. Just don't worry about it. That line is tangent to the graph, this. So can either one of you tell me, I should stop there because there's a period. Can either one of you tell me what I should, or what I'm thinking I should do next?
Should you find the derivative of y equals x squared plus 2x plus 1?
It makes sense possibly because it is talking about a line that's tangent. I think that's valid.
Isn't it the line tangent and like they're still sort of the same at one point?
Perfect.
So they're going to be equal to each other at one point?
Careful on the equal, but so your thinking is good. The words aren't coming out exactly right.
Okay.
When you read this kind of word about a line that's tangent, I strongly recommend you always draw this picture. I found that makes a bigger difference than pretty much anything else you can do. So draw the curve, and draw a line that is tangent. Okay. I need to label the green and the purple. I don't care which of you answer, but how do I label the green and the purple?
Purple would be f of x.
And do we have an equation for f or do we not?
Isn't it the y equals x squared plus 3x plus 1?
Nicely done. And how about the green?
Can you technically label it as
A lot of people say that, but it is actually completely wrong, so don't do that. Like, look at your golden notes. So Bennett was just doing this. You should do the same.
Is the equation is y equals x minus x plus y1? So I don't know what you'd label. What would you label?
Yeah, not common to have a label, so just what you said is fair.
Okay.
But yeah, Bennett's looking right here. The line tangent is not f prime. Don't ever do that. Or we could call it, like you said, this.
Oh, I remember.
What the heck is this?
That's the line tangent.
Yeah,
So
that's the same thing.
So they're equal to each other.
So we could have also called it this. X plus y is equal to k. They're the same thing. This is basically the template. Meaning when we're asked to create this equation here,
That's what you use.
we use this template.
So if it didn't give us the y equation, then you would just write that one, and you could figure it out.
Correct, if they ask me to do that. They're not asking me to do it in this thing because they already
Yeah.
gave it to me, but yes, you are correct.
Okay.
Uh-huh. That makes sense? Cool. Okay. Okay, the key to the AP test is read and write, and also, like, we're doing that, we're writing things down. It's also key that we just kind of think logically one little step at a time. So we've got pretty much everything they gave us on the board. They're asking us to find k. What's the key thing you should always remember when they ask us to find k? Ignore the constant. So you have to try and think of this situation and think and kind of guess, like, what would they be asking in a more normal problem where there wasn't this weird constant k? What would be something they would typically ask us to do in this situation?
Can you give us like this?
Like when they give you this picture, it's very common for them to ask, like,
What's the slope?
they might ask for the slope. They might also ask for the equation of this line. The line that's tangent, this one. So that's how I think of it. I'm like, oh, Normally, if I wasn't asked to find k, I'd be asked to find this equation. And then I'd do like what you just said. I need to use this template to do that. Well, that's the way I want to go. I want to go a way that's more familiar. Like I'm not familiar with finding k, but I am familiar with writing this equation. So to write that equation, I need to know the slope of the line, and I need to know a point that is on the line. So I need a slope of the line, and I need a point that is on the line. Do we know how to find either of those? This is,
You can find.
go ahead.
You can find a point on the line with the f of x equation.
So what's the purpose of this equation?
Finds the x and y points on the curve.
So, and the slogan is, plug in an x, find a y, or plug in a y, find an x. So your thought is very good that, hey, I could use the purple to find this point. That's a point that's both on the curve and the line.
Yeah.
Trouble is, you have to know the x to find the y, or you have to know the y to find the x. We don't know either one right here. So that's a dead end. So we can't do that. So we're still over here looking to see, can we find the slope of the line, or can we find the point on the line? Ideas? So just remember this feeling. If you're taking the AP test and that's the feeling you have, make sure you turn the page. You just move on.
Yeah.
Like you've got to keep reading and writing. You don't want to stall. But here we're trying to learn it. Okay, there's, oh, go ahead.
Well, this is a thought, but with the x plus y equals k, can you rearrange that to equal x or y and then plug it into the top equation?
Kinda. It's not a bad idea. If we rearrange it to be y, what would be the new y equation?
K over x.
No. Careful. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, if I rearrange that a little bit, I'm hoping it looks familiar to you. Does that help at all? Like by rearranging, I just learned something. This box is telling me something important.
Think about negative.
Does that tell either of you something important? Slope of what?
Of the line.
So you learned long ago that a line can be written in this format. Like that. Which means the slope of this line is -1.
Yeah.
So that's good news, because we found something we didn't know. So again, we're trying to ignore k, we're just trying to do what we normally do, which is we want to find the slope of this line, and we want to find a point on the line. That's what we normally would do, so we're working on that. We've now found the slope of that line. We've got to find a way to find the points on the line.
So now,
So
do you want to use the purple equation in this question?
You do.
Okay, so then would you just plug -1 in for f of x?
Okay, so mistake, but you got to understand why it's a mistake. What is this? One of you tell me. What is this symbol representing?
Oh, f prime of x is when it represents the slope, right?
There we go. So that's the right idea.
So it's the point.
Because
So
you
you
can
can find
create
the-
f prime.
Yeah,
What's f prime?
that'd be 2x plus 3.
And now tell me the purpose of this formula.
That will find the slope.
Well, what's the other purpose of this formula?
You can find the slope.
you can also turn it around the other way. Like the slogan is, like, what's the little slogan for this one I keep telling you?
If you find,
What's the slogan for the purple?
Plug in the X to find the Y.
Or,
And plug in the Y to find the X.
what's the slogan for the green? Keep going, Josie.
Plug in X to find the Y.
Or,
Y to find the X.
right, because they're equations that describe a curve and a line. The Brown equation is a way to find the slope anywhere on the curve. So it can be used two ways as well. I can plug in an x coordinate and find the slope at that x. Or I can say, hey, I know somewhere where the slope is whatever, and I can find out what is the x where that slope occurs.
So you plug -1 to F prime.
Just tell me what to write.
F prime of -1
Okay,
equals.
pause there for a second. So you don't want to write, so here's the difference. This is a small mistake. This symbol as a whole, this entire symbol represents a slope at a specific x.
Negative, just negative.
It's -1.
Okay.
We just don't know what is the x that causes that to be the slope.
Should be -1 equals, yeah, 2x plus.
So the slogan for this one is, plug in an x, find the slope at that x on the curve of f, lots of words. Or, people are like, that was math, how can we have so many words? It's 'cause this class forces you to make sense of things and not just copy people. Or do it the other way around. We plug in a slope, and then we
Find X of it.
find the x at that slope. So find the x that causes that slope. So what would you do now, Josie?
Subtract 3.
Tell me what
and
to write.
get -4 equals 2x, and then divide by 2, so it'll be -2.
Tell me what to write.
-2 equals x.
There we go. What have we found?
The x at the point is -2, at the slope -1.
So on the picture, I would say right here when x is -2, the slope at that x coordinate on the curve, that slope is -1. It's the same as the slope of that green line. So I know that x coordinate. And that's this x coordinate, because in a given problem, the meaning of x doesn't change. Like you can use it in lots of different equations, it's still the same meaning. It's still just an x coordinate. So, what's left to be done now? Find y. So how do we find y? And it's got to be the y that goes with this x. Like they come in pairs. So
would you just plug in -2 to the purple?
perfect. Because what's the slogan for the purple?
Plug in the X, get the Y, and the Y get the X.
Perfect. We want to use which version of that?
Plug in the X to get the Y.
Perfect. This problem is, I'm going to always classify problems as easy, medium, or hard, so you kind of get a sense of which ones should I be more worried about. Definitely the easy ones, you gotta get those down for sure. This one to me is a hard problem, but it is a really good problem to discuss because you have to know all those things we just kept talking about. And they boil down to simple things, you know. The purpose of this equation is to plug in an x, find a y, plug in a y, find an x on the line. And this is in the golden notes. This one, plug in an x, find a y, plug in a y, find an x on the curve. This one, plug in an x, find a slope, plug in a slope, find an x on the curve. That's what you have to know to solve this problem. So now we say f of when x is -2. So this symbol means y coordinate at this x coordinate. That equals -2 squared. Make sure you count this time when I ask you how much time you spent working to get better. You count this time as well. So you just don't count class time. So that would be 4 minus 6 plus 1. So what is the -1 representing?
At that slope.
Better to say, no, that's okay, that's not bad. I always go with the x first.
Oh.
I would say, hey, that means that the point right here that we're interested in is x equal -2, y equal -1. The slope at that point is definitely this value we found here, -1. So we found all we need because x plus y has to be the value of k. So there we go.